Hello everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome to Christmas in Arkham 2022. Hopefully everyone has plans to have a wonderful Thanksgiving wherever you happen to be. The campaign proper will once again involve three of the biggest games in the Arkham horror files: Eldritch Horror, Arkham Horror 2nd Edition, and Elder Sign as a mini-campaign. If we win each game, we'll start the next game with an extra item, but if we lose, we'll start the next game down 1 health and 1 sanity from our maximums. An observant user is probably wondering to themselves right now, okay, Phoenix Knight, that explains those 3 games, but how does Fate of the Elder Gods fit in? Fate of the Elder Gods fits in here because as a prelude to the actual campaign, we're going to use Fate of the Elder Gods to pick our opponent, and we're going to do that by way of a tournament of sorts in the next few videos. For a little backstory, it turns out there are several of the Ancient Ones who cross all 4 games, the 3 Arkham Horror Files games, and Fate of the Elder Gods. So we can use Fate of the Elder Gods in a thematic way to decide our opponent. Essentially, we're going to summon our opponent and then switch sides to try and banish that chosen Ancient One during the campaign proper. I'll explain more about how that tournament is going to work, but let's move over and see who our candidates for this year's Christmas in Arkham are going to be. There are 9 Ancient Ones who cross all 4 games, so these are going to be the Ancient Ones who participate in this tournament. I didn't do this for the Summer of Lovecraft earlier this year, because time was much tighter for me than it is toward the end of the year, and when I do the Summer of Lovecraft moving forward, I likely will default to an executive decision preferring an Ancient One who isn't in this game. As for doing this tournament during last year's Christmas in Arkham, I didn't have Fate of the Elder Gods yet at that time. Anyway, that rambling aside, I alluded to a tournament to determine the opponent for Christmas in Arkham. It's actually quite simple. We're going to play a solo play of Fate of the Elder Gods for each Ancient One. I'll split the Ancient Ones into groups of 3, and within each group, we'll have the 3 Ancient Ones go through a solo playthrough. If any Ancient One in each group gets summoned, that Ancient One will advance to the final group. In the event we don't manage to summon any of the Ancient Ones, tiebreakers will be furthest progress on the summoning track, then fewest Elder Signs, and finally fewest Curses. If multiple Ancient Ones get summoned, tiebreakers will start with fewest Elder Signs. In the event of still being tied, we'll probably default to a die roll. The winning Ancient Ones in each group will then advance to one final group to do that again. The winner of that group will then be our opponent for Christmas in Arkham. We'll determine the initial order and group by rolling 2d3. Roll 2d6 and divide each individual roll. We'll use red dice for the order and blue dice for the group. I'll also sprinkle in some history I have with each Ancient One on the channel. I should also mention, as you can probably guess, that these are not going to be the final groups. These are just laid out for purposes of which Ancient Ones cross over all 4 games. But anyway, with that, let's move to each Ancient One and group them up. By a pretty fair margin, our history on the channel is the bloodiest with the Crawling Chaos, Nyarlathotep. Back during the very first campaign I played for Arkham Horror, the card game on the channel, we did Dream Eaters, and Nyarlathotep was one of the Ancient Ones at the end of that. Lola and Harvey ended up under Nyarlathotep's mind control at the end of the Dream Eaters campaign on the Dream side, but we went back in and saved them in Elder Sign as the prologue to that campaign. Apparently Nyarlathotep had a pretty long memory, though, because he then came back and trounced us pretty handily during the Summer of Lovecraft 3-0. But anyway, and the 3-0 score for the Summer of Lovecraft was even deceptively close. But anyway, now we'll see if he's going to be back for Christmas in Arkham. So as I mentioned, we'll roll 2d3 for the score. So we'll divide each individual roll in half and round up. Actually round down. So 1 and 2 will be 1, 3 and 4 will be 2, so on and so forth. Actually, I would be rounding up then, but anyway. So let's go ahead and get Nyarlathotep rolled. Once again, I'll pull these out. I'm using a blue die for the group and a red for the order. So let's go ahead and get Nyarlathotep rolled up. So based on that result, Nyarlathotep is going to end up in Group 2 and going second. So I'll put him there. And the typing you were hearing was me typing on my iPad keyboard. But anyway, that will do it for Nyarlathotep. Now let's move to our next ancient one. During last year's Christmas in Arkham, we defeated Ithaca by a score of 2-1. Ithaca managed to win Elder Sign Omens of Ice after getting defeated fairly easily in Eldritch Horror and Arkham Horror 2nd Edition. So it's entirely possible that the Windwalker is going to be out for revenge. But anyway, let's see what his roll gives for us. Ithaca is going to end up in the third group, but going first. Actually, no. Ithaca is going to end up in the first group, going third. So, just making sure I've got my sequencing straight there. But anyway, that will do it for Ithaca. Now let's move into our next ancient one. Atlach Naka, the Spider Queen, was the other half of that introductory Dream Eaters campaign on the channel. And we actually ended up defeating Atlach Naka on the Waking side with Jenny and Ursula, which is how we were able to have an Elder Sign epilogue from the Dream Eaters campaign at all. But anyway, let's go ahead and give this a roll and see where Atlach Naka lands. Atlach Naka will be in the second group, going first. Okay, second group going first. No. Don't autocorrect on me, Excel. Alright. So we've got that straight. Let's go to our next ancient one. We've encountered Hastur a few times on the channel. Most recently, when we debuted Fate of the Elder Gods on the channel back in April, we managed to summon him in that game, but we ended up with 4 curses in the process. So we almost didn't manage to summon Hastur by the skin of our teeth. Before that, when we first played Eldritch Horror, Hastur was our ancient one, and we defeated him with 1 doom to spare. In between the two, we played a game of Cthulhu Death May Die against Hastur and lost that pretty quickly. To be fair, that Blasphemous Alchemy scenario is a nightmare sometimes, but that's neither here nor there. Let's see where Hastur is going to land in our sequence. Hastur will be going. He's wanting to be in the. Looks like he's wanting to be in the second group, going first. Except that spot is occupied by Atlach Naka, so we'll have to re-roll again. First group going second. That'll work. So we'll put him over there. And then we'll move into our next ancient one. Azathoth was a promo ancient one in Fate of the Elder Gods. So that's why his sheet's going to look a little bit different from the others. In case you're wondering about that. But anyway, Azathoth was the most recent ancient one we've encountered on the channel. He was our final adversary at the end of the fall campaign in Arkham Horror, the card game, where Mandy and Jacqueline had to sign the Black Book of Azathoth to win the campaign. So, theoretically, Azathoth is still slumbering, but let's see where he's going to land in this tournament. He wants to be going. Looks like third in the second group, which actually works. So yeah, second group going third. Yep, that will work. Sorry, I'm just making sure of the. So what did we say? Second group going third. All right, that will do it for Azathoth. Now let's meet our next ancient one. Despite being the entire namesake of the mythos, We've only encountered Cthulhu once on the channel. That was the first time we played Death May Die and played through Blasphemous Alchemy. We managed to defeat him by the skin of our teeth, but we had everybody else dead in that game of Cthulhu Death May Die. But anyway, history aside, let's see where Cthulhu is going to land in our sequencing for this tournament. Cthulhu wants to be in the first group going second, except that's not going to work, so we'll have to re-roll these. We're starting to get down to it, so we're probably going to end up having to re-roll more and more. First group going, actually no, second group going first. That won't work either because that's where Atlak Naka is. Let's see, second group going third also won't fly. That's Azathoth. Second group going second also won't work. Second group, or no. Actually, would be third group going second. This would work. So we have our first Ancient One into the third group. So that will be group 3 going second. Alright. So after a bit of an ordeal, that will do it for spotting Cthulhu. Now let's move into our next Ancient One. On the channel, we have yet to encounter Yig, the father of the serpents. I've run across him many times in the mythos, but again, this will be our first time seeing him in action on the channel. Yig wants to be going first in the second group. Nope, at least not according to that roll. In the first group going second, that won't work. Let's see, in the second group going third, still won't work. Let's see, that would be the third group going first. That would actually work. So Yig will be going first in the third group. That will finally do it for Yig. Now let's move into our last two Ancient Ones. We have yet to encounter Yog-Sothoth or Shub-Niggurath on the channel at all, but I do have some memorable stories about each one of them, both in Eldritch Horror. So Yog-Sothoth in particular, I've had a game where I had one of my characters just totally get destroyed on turn 1, which was not a fun experience to have. And then Saturday, when I have a big game group that I get together with once a month to play bigger board games. We played Eldritch Horror on Saturday, and our opponent was Shub-Niggurath for that. And we ended up getting to the final mystery after the epic monster spawned, and the space where she landed, the heart of Africa, we just made explode and took her out in basically one turn. So that was kind of a fun experience, but anyway, we'll roll for Yog-Sothoth. Once we spot Yog-Sothoth, then Shub-Niggurath will go in the other spot. So anyway, let's get into this roll for Yog-Sothoth. Second group going first, nope. That's where Atlak Naka's at. Yog-Sothoth in the first group going first. So Yog-Sothoth will actually be leading off the Fate of the Elder Gods tournament. No. Which by virtue, I'm not gonna bother with the roll because Shub-Niggurath will be in the third group, going very last. So she will be the last ancient one of the play-in games for the Fate of the Elder Gods tournament. But anyway, let's move over and I'll recap the groups. That will do it for this intro and selection video for Christmas in Arkham 2022. So for our three groups, in Group 1, in order, we'll have Yog-Sothoth, then Hastur, and then Ithaca. In Group 2, we'll have Atlach-Nacha, then Nyarlathotep, then Azathoth. And Group 3 will feature Yig, then Cthulhu, then Shub-Niggurath. So anyway, I'm planning on having the tournament all weekend for Fate of the Elder Gods. I don't know exactly when the videos are going to go up, but they're probably going to go up pretty quickly. Except for the winners group, which will be on Sunday. So, yeah. So the videos in order, like I said, will be Group 1, then Group 2, and finally Group 3 with the winners group on Sunday. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone.